So I just pulled up to a property here in Sugar Hill, Georgia, that does pose some interesting points of conversation. When you're looking at properties, of course, we always look at the staple things like what's the location of the neighborhood, what's the house location, what's behind it, what's the houses that are next door, what's the houses just in the neighborhood as well, like all of those things. Obviously, the interior, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms. We haven't done a lot of videos talking about the exterior, the grade of the house, the grade of the yard, the slopes, and what happens with the rainwater or any other kind of weather in a particular house. The property I want to walk you through is a really, really good example of a property that seems like to be a pretty good investment opportunity. The price is right, the bedroom and bathrooms are right. However, the where it sits in relation to the community, what's behind it, and the potential. Here in Georgia, we get some times where we get mega rainstorms. We're talking, 4 or 5 inches of rain, where we get all this water that pours out. Where that water goes is very, very important. When you're buying a rental property, you don't want water sitting. You don't want the possibility of water intrusion. You don't want water around your foundation. It can just cause all kinds of problems. Let's go take a look at this property. And I want to show you a couple of things to look for when you're trying to look at a property, how you should consider the way the water would run, and just some very clear red flags that you'll want to stay away from if you're trying to avoid yourself a little bit of headache in the future. Let's go take a look. So it's probably hard to see a little bit, but this house is sitting up on a hill. If I look over here, you can tell that this property over here is a little bit higher, and there's a pretty big nice decrease that goes down to the road. The house on the right side sits much lower. So if you ever had water issues just initially, you can see that you potentially have an issue with water is going to flow down, always down. So it's going to come down across this way and go down into the neighbor's house. So what we want to look at is around the foundation is, do we have enough earth to support this house? There's a possibly potential for settling. Now, if I look at this is slab on grade. So there's nothing here that indicates there's enough room or enough earth here that there's not going to have much settling issues probably here in the foundation. But what I want to show you is the backyard, because this is what actually causes a little bit of a concern. Now, it's actually a really pretty cool looking feel when you get back here. It's nice, a little cozy. You kind of feel like you're in some sort of, I don't know, not a safari, but on the mountains or in the hills. You have this beautiful little walkway that runs up here, and you have all this greenery here. And you can imagine putting a seat and a table and a chairs back here. You'd be very, very cozy, and you'd have all of these trees. So sounds very comfortable. However, one thing that you're maybe not thinking of, unless it's downpouring, is where's the water coming from, or where is it going to go? And let's take a look on this other side. It all looks fairly dry right now. But if I go up and I look in the hill, my concern is what happens up here. Now, the reason why my concern is because if this is a major road up here, depending on how this road is graded, the water could actually flow that direction or this direction. And if it's not graded properly, then you have a potential that you could have a tremendous amount of water from up there flowing down into here, down under these rocks, right into your backyard, underneath your foundation, or just creating puddles. So let's go up here and take a look. I don't think we're going to be able to see much, but I just kind of want to give you an idea. Again, a very, very cool kind of a look, to the overall structure. But I can tell you right now, there's a house right there. And if this house is done right, that house is probably sitting center and it's graded. The backs of the house is graded down. The sides are graded down, which means the water from the top of that hill is going to go down towards the end of that fence. That fence is going to drain down into here. It's going to hit these rocks. It's going to go down into this landing part. It's going to go over those rocks, and it's going to go down and sit into here. So my concern then is, if the water runs down this particular direction, where potentially is the water going to go? So, and looking at that, what I would hope to see back here is actually some sort of drainage or French drain or something to collect the water. And I actually don't see anything at all. Now, this ground isn't wet, but it hasn't been raining or anything like that. But another thing I notice is, if you see down here, these are downspouts. These downspouts are not put into a drain. What I would like to see in this particular property is these capped off for drains to be going down into the ground and then into some sort of other drainage system underneath the house that would push that water out the front. And I'm not actually seeing that. So to kind of recap what that means, and sorry, this video is confusing today, but it's going to rain up on top of this hill. The water's going to collect there. It's going to filter towards the back of that property. It's going to run down this hill. All of this water that's on this hill has nowhere to go but down. It's going to come down. It's going to flow into here. It's potentially going to run up against this house and get trapped up against this house. You can see, it might be hard to see, but you can see the water flow would actually flow almost towards the house, which is going to be a negative grade, which is not going to be ideal. And it's going to flow down and around that edge, or it's going to flow down and around this side. In addition to that, you have all of the surface area of the entire roof. All of the water and the rain that's going to be here is going to come down down to the edge of the roof, down these gutters, down through those gutters, out here, and it's going to pour out right here. I can guarantee you probably that this entire area is probably a swampland when it rains, and this is probably going to run water all the way down to the front yard, but it's probably very, very swampy. So from a foundation perspective, maybe potentially not a major issue, but from a just kind of a pain in the butt resale value, your renters are probably going to always be complaining about it. Not a real great investment. And then even worse, this guy's probably even worse because all of the water here is going to be pouring down into that guy's yard. Very similar to over here. If this guy's land over here was much higher, all of that would be pouring down into this particular area, which it is slightly higher. So let's take a look at the neighbors, because this is a good example too. You see how he's got a drain. You can barely see it there. See how he's got a drain and it's capped off and it's flowing down into here, which means that all of his rainwater is coming down this gutter, down into here and flowing right into that ground. And you know where this ground's going? Well, you guessed it. It's going to go right down into your property. He's basically flowing his water down here, all the way down into here, right down your property, kind of completely flooding you out, which is probably why there's no actually soil down here. Another thing, you got water here. It's flowing directly into your driveway, and you can tell the water that's coming down off here has already washed all of this out. There's no sod, and you can see it's actually washing out down the curb, which is why you have that dirt in that gutter around the curb. You can actually see some of this breakage I hear, could be the dirt from underneath is getting and washing out that driveway, which is going to cause this to sink. Same thing. You can actually see it even better a little bit here. You can see how the water's starting to wash out underneath that concrete. So major drainage issue, definitely property you want to stay away from if you're doing some kind of investment. If you did want to purchase this property, it was at a really, really good price. There's potential you could do some rockage here. You could do some other drainage to get that away, but not for this one. All right, guys, so hopefully that video was a little bit insightful and just provide you a little bit of extra information of how to look at differently at a property. Again, it's not just about the interior condition. It's not just about the neighborhood or will the house rent or will not. You have to look at the overall sustainability of the house. You have to look at you know, is this going to cause a lot of problems? One of the key things that we, again, always look at is not just the numbers, but being property managers ourselves, we want a property that is very, very low maintenance. We have gotten it wrong, and we have gotten it wrong. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of time dealing with things that we wish we wouldn't hadn't. So always looking at the exteriors, always looking at the drainage, always looking at, you know, is there old appliances, any of these things that can cause a tremendous amount of headache for a property manager, and really for ourselves, we just try to avoid. So this is a really good property. Definitely one that we're going to pass on. We're definitely not going to go with it because we don't want to deal with drainage. We don't want to deal with any of the erosion issues. We don't want to deal with any of that. Tenants that are going to complain because their backyard is sloppy. It's just no. There's just other properties that are out there, and this one hopefully would have a very low resale value in a market that's not like this one. So eventually the market will slow down, and properties like this will be sitting in the market because they are less than ideal. So hopefully this video was sort of a little bit insightful for you, hopefully allow you to see a property a little bit different way, or at least help you understand the way that we analyze things. If you did get value from this video or for anything, again, we always ask you to smash that like button. Let's Google find us. If you have any questions, comment below. We try to get back to them as much as we possibly can. And of course, subscribe. We try to post a video sort of, at least twice a week, once a week, about the deals that we're doing, how we're analyzing business for all of the real estate investors that are out there. Hopefully this stuff gives you a little bit of insight, helps you avoid some of the mistakes that we've made, learn from where we get it wrong, learn from where we get it right, and just makes you a better investor overall. Until next time, thanks.